Welcome back to PN&L channel, where we create content with practical IT solutions. If our videos are helpful to you, kindly subscribe to this channel. Click the thumbs up button and let us know in the comment section what you would like to see. In this video, we will be demonstrating how to install and configure Ceph storage backend on Openstack. Ceph storage is a scalable, open, software-defined storage platform that comprises of Ceph Monitor, Manager, OSD, Admin, and so on and so forth. The Ceph Monitor node runs the CephMon daemon, which maintains a master copy of the storage cluster map. A client connecting to the Ceph storage cluster retrieves the current copy of the storage cluster map from the Ceph Monitor, which enables the client to read from and write data to the storage cluster. The Ceph Manager provides an interface for other monitoring and management systems using Ceph Manager modules. Running the Ceph Manager daemon is a requirement for normal storage cluster operations. The Ceph Object Storage Device OSD node runs the Ceph OSD daemon, which interacts with logical disks attached to the node. The storage cluster stores data on these Ceph nodes. So basically what that means is it stores virtual disks, image from glance, that the images that we're going to use to install the instances on the Openstack compute nodes. So as you can see here, this is going to be my setup. And we have on this side here the Ceph nodes, which is the Ceph OSD 00, OSD 01, OSD 02. Now, as you can see, we have the Ceph cluster network. This is where the communication between the nodes for replication and all the other stuff. And the Ceph network is where you connect to the network where the controller nodes and the OpenStack compute nodes are going to be accessing the backend storage. So it's advisable to separate these networks for throughput. So for this here, I would recommend a 10 gig connectivity. And here as well, if you can get 10 gigs, that should also work. But I will advise 10 gigs for the backend networks for the storage. And then this blue line here represents the management network, both for the Ceph network and also for the controller nodes and the compute nodes. And this management network is connected to a firewall that is connected to the internet. And then this tunnel network is where the virtual machines actually use to connect to the outside world. This here as well, I will recommend a 10 gig network in a production environment. But for my environment, I'm using an ESXi hypervisor to create this environment. And in the previous video, we configured Active Directory that is going to be handling the user repository and permissions to be able to access the OpenStack. Also, each storage node will have a separate disk. In my case, it's going to be s/dev/sdb. If I run fdisk-l, and you will see that I have two disks, which is /dev/sdb, which has 300 gigs. So in a production environment, this is going to be like terabytes or petabytes of disks that is endless. Like for example, you can have SSD drives, you can have NVMe drives, you can have mechanical drives, and so on and so forth. So for throughput, I would recommend an NVMe drive because that has it has higher IOPS than your regular HDD or mechanical drive. So the Ceph OSD 0001 and 02, they are all configured in the same way, the same /dev/stb. And if we look at the interface, it has 3 interfaces. So if I expand this, so we have ETH0, ETH1, and ETH2. As I mentioned earlier in the diagram here, as you can see, there are 1, 2, 3 interfaces. So one interface goes to the management network, the second interface goes to the Ceph cluster, the second interface goes to the Ceph network, and the third interface goes to the Ceph cluster network. So with that said, let us dive into configure the Ceph backend storage. So the first thing we check is to ensure that the host name and IP address are configured in the /etc hosts file, as you can see here, and it must be uniform on all the host so that there will be intercommunication between the nodes in the Ceph cluster network and also in the Ceph network over here. So we're using this here, and then the next thing we're going to do is to install Crony. Crony is like an NTP server, or it is an NTP server. So we're going to install Crony on all the nodes. Okay, the next thing is we're going to remove the default pool that is configured in the /etc/crony/crony.conf. We do that on all the Ceph nodes. The next thing is we're going to add the time server. So here, so I'm in Canada, so I'm going to be using this time.nrc.ca. So you can Google your time server for your location and add it to the Ceph nodes. So next thing, we're going to restart the Crony for the configuration to take effect. Next, we're going to now ensure that we have the time zone correct. So I'm in Canada, so I'm using this time zone here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to generate SSH key pair on the monitor daemon node, which is the OSD 00. That's where we're going to, that's the server we're going to designate as the monitor mode node and also the admin node as well, or the first monitor node. Let me clarify that. The first monitor node. which is Ceph OSD 00. All the three nodes are going to be monitor nodes, because ideally in a production environment or in a large environment, it's advisable to separate the monitor nodes, the admin nodes, and the OSD nodes. But for the purpose of this video, I'm only going to be using 3 nodes, so which is the minimum requirement to configure Ceph backend storage for this demonstration. So we're going to generate SSH key pair on the Ceph OSD 00, and we're going to configure it with no passphrase. So we're going to copy that, and we're going to generate the SSH key pair, and we press enter to save. Next, we're going to enter the key. We're going to enter this key in the SSH config. This one defines the node and the SSH user on all Ceph nodes. So this here, I'm going to enter this. So this consists of the host name, the host names of all the nodes, and we're going to do that on all 3 nodes. So press enter, do the same for all the other nodes. I will provide this configuration notes in subsequent videos, and so you won't have to be typing all these commands and pausing the video and typing the commands manually, so you can do a copy and paste. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to allow root login on all nodes. First, we're going to add this parameter in the slash etc sshd underscore config file, and then we're going to restart the SSH service, and then we're going to configure a new password for the root user. And so I'm going to press enter. I'm going to do the same on the second node as well, and on the third node. So I'm going to type in my password. I'm going to type in a new root password on there. Do the same for, oh man, do that again. Password updated. Password updated. Next, we're now going to transfer the public key from the Ceph OSD 00 to the rest of the nodes. So we're going to use the ssh-copy-id to do that. We press enter, type in yes, and we type in the password, the root password that we generated earlier on. So for 01, we type in yes, and press enter, and type in the password again. Then for OSD 02, type in yes, enter, and the password, and all that is complete. So the next step is we're going to install Ceph on all the nodes. So this is the command to use to install Ceph. Press enter, we update and then install the Ceph. We wait for it to be done. pause this video. When it's done, we'll come back. Okay, installation is now complete. So the next thing is we're going to generate a UUID that we're going to use to configure the Ceph node. So we're going to generate a UUID on the primary node, which is the Ceph OSD-00. So in a production environment where the admin node is separate from the monitor node, we are going to run this UUID gen on the admin node. So we're going to do that. So as you can see, we have generated this. I'm going to copy this and save it somewhere. This is going to be something that we're going to be using to do to configure this at a later date. So we need to save this and place it somewhere. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a config in the /etc/ceph/ceph.conf, or should I just say ceph.conf, because it's going to be in the /etc. So we're going to add this configuration on all nodes. As you can see here, we're going to add this UUID that we generated previously, and this is what is going to be using to talk to the rest of the nodes. So here we're going to press enter, and then we go to the second node, do the same thing, and the third node. So the next step is we're going to generate a secret key on the secret key for the monitor node. So we're going to use this command ceph auth 2 and create the monitor key, and then we're going to press enter. We're going to do this on the Ceph monitor node, or should I say the Ceph OSD00, which is the admin node. And then we generate the secret key for the admin cluster. We run that on the Ceph node, OSD00 node. So the next thing, we're going to create a bootstrap on bootstrap key. So this one here is going to create the bootstrap and then copy the keyring, and it will copy it to all the other nodes. It will generate this and then copy it to OSD01 and OSD02. So I'm going to press enter. As you can see, it's copying the keyring, the Ceph keyring, to OSD01 and also the admin to 01 and keyring to admin 02. So that's why we have the same here, double. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to import the generated key and then copy it to the rest of the nodes. We're going to do the same thing on Ceph OSD00. Paste it there, and then we press enter, and it's importing and then copying them to the rest of the nodes. So on each node, we're going to import the generated key. So we're going to import, because we already copied it from Ceph OSD00 to OSD1. Now we're now going to import the keys from Ceph OSD01, and then we press enter, and then the contents have been imported. And then we do the same thing on the third node. We import the key, we press enter, key is imported. The next thing, we're now going to map the monitor on all nodes. We're going to use the mon map tool to create and add add each node to the /etc Ceph monitor map. So that was what we talked about earlier on when we talked about the Ceph monitor node mapping the storage cluster. So it's going to create a map for the cluster, and we're going to do that on all the nodes. So press enter. As you can see, we now have 3 monitors, and then we go to the second node and do the same thing, and on the third node, same thing. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make directory for the monitor daemon, and we're going to create it in the /var lib ceph mon ceph on ceph OSD00. We're going to do that on node 1. Finally on node 3. So the next thing we're going to do is we're now going to associate the key and the monitor map to the monitor daemon on each of the hosts. So we're going to use this command to do that, and then enable the monitor node. It's done. We do the same on the second node. Press enter, and then finally on the third node. Okay, that is complete. The next thing is we're going to enable the Messenger version 2 protocol, and then set the monitor to allow. We're going to do that on all nodes. Enter. That is complete. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the manager daemon. We're going to do that on each node. And then on the third node, next we're going to create the authentication key, and then enable the manager on all the nodes. So we're going to use this here for the key. We go on to node number 2. Already done that on node 1. Press enter. Then on the third node, enter. That has been generated. So the next thing, we're going to check the cluster status. For now, it's going to be showing 1 because by default, the OSD pool default size is meant to be 3. That means you need to have 1, 2, 3, minimum of 3 OSD nodes, as I explained earlier. So now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install and configure distributed file system on Ceph cluster using the free block device, which is the /dev/sdb on all the Ceph nodes, as we mentioned earlier. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the ownership of the Ceph conf directory. So we're going to use this to change ownership on all nodes. The next thing is we're going to use wipefs to wipe the SDB clean. We're going to do that on all nodes. Then we now use the Ceph volume to create the volume on all nodes on the /dev/sdb. Successful, successful, successful. Then we're now going to part and create a partition on that /dev/sdb, or should I just use SDB? All right, we're going to do that on all the nodes. As you can see, it's complete. So the next thing, we are now going to create the Ceph volume. We're now going to create a volume on the /dev/sdb. Okay, that is complete and successful on all nodes. So next, we're going to install the dashboard, and the dashboard can only be installed on one node, and we're going to install it on the Ceph OSD-00. In a production environment, you can install this on the admin node. So just in case the Python 3 chroot is not up to date, you can update it using this and restart. Okay, that's complete. Then we enable the dashboard and ensure that the dashboard module has been installed. So we click on, we use the Ceph mgr module enable dashboard to enable the dashboard, and then this to check if the dashboard is installed. As you can see, the dashboard is on. Next, we create a self-signed certificate. Okay, certificate created. So now we're going to create a username and a password, and a temporary password, that is. So we're going to use this command to, as you can see, we're going to echo this password into a pass.txt file. Ceph dashboard AC user create to create the admin, and then use the pass.txt to generate the username, and it is going to be an administrator. So now what we can do is we can now press enter. So as you can see here, we have created the username and the password, and when we log into the dashboard, we can change the password on there. Alrighty, so now we're going to confirm that we confirm the dashboard URL, and that is going to be this. So now because there is a um, management interface on each of these nodes, so we can go to this and access the dashboard using the management IP rather than using this Ceph network IP. So we can use this. So go here and I'll go. So I've already typed this in. I'm going to click try again. Okay, so now we can click on advanced and accept. So here we type in the admin username and the password, which was password that we used earlier. And we click on this. So as you can see, we are in. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the password. So we're going to use the old password, and then we generate a new password. And then we click on change password. It's going to sign us out. And then we log in using the password, new password. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the pools. So if we go back here and we go to pools, as you can see that there are no pools that has been created yet. So okay, so we're going to create. So before we create the pools, we're going to set this mon underscore max pg to USD to 1024. We need to increase it because when we create the pool, it might not, the pool size might not be enough. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to create the pools. So here I have the images pool, the volumes pool, the VMS pool, and the backup. So the images are for the images used by Glance, and the volumes are going to be used by Cinder, which is going to be storing the virtual disks, and this is going to be storing the virtual machines or instances, and this is going to be for backup. So the next thing we're going to do is we're now going to initialize the pools that we have created. And then we press enter and wait for it to complete the initialization. Okay, the initialization is complete. Now when we go back to the dashboard, if we check here, you'll see here it's saying too many PGs per OSD. So this is going to be decreasing, as you can see here. So it's decreasing here, and as soon as it gets back to the max, which is 250, and then it will turn green. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new user for Glance in the monitor node. So we're going to create it on the Ceph OSD here, and then okay, that has been generated. So now we create the glance client key. So it is this key that is going to use to communicate with glance and the controller node. So now we create the key, and it's going to copy it into the Ceph directory. Let's enter. And next we are going to create another one for cinder, as you can see, which is for the volumes. So you can see here pools, images, and the pool volumes. So the reason why we have these pool images and pool here is because when we are creating the images and or using the images to build the instances, we will see how these two are linked. So we created that. So the next thing, we're going to copy this to keys to both. So first I'm going to cd into stack etc Ceph, and then copy this two files that we generated to OSD1 and OSD2. So as you can see here, ceph.clients.cinder.keyring and glance.keyring, they're both going to be copied to both nodes. So now, let's go back to here. As you can see, it's decreasing. Okay, so once that is done, this here will turn to green, and when you run the Ceph-s, you'll see here that this health 1 is going to change back to health OK, which was what we saw up here somewhere. Okay, so as you can see, it's going to turn to this health OK, and this is the UUID that we generated earlier on. As you can see, it's unique, and that's what the nodes use to communicate. I hope this has been informative for you. I've enjoyed creating this video. It has been fun so far. Thank you for watching. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.